The surrender of the Minbari left the Earth Alliance in disarray. At first no one could believe it. Surely the Federation was involved in some sort of plot. Perhaps they wished to demonstrate their overwhelming superiority, and then turn the surviving humans into slaves. Yet even these terrible fears soon seemed unfounded. The Minbari proved the war was over when they left only a token embassy behind and pulled completely out of Earth space, not just from Earth but from every colony and outpost they had occupied during their invasion. They made no attempt to take prisoners, steal technology, or sabotage those installations they left behind. If they were indeed conquerors, they were like no conqueror the humans had ever seen. With the departure of the Minbari, the Alliance found itself with a monumental task ahead of it. The Federation, despite surrendering, made no offers of aid or restitution, but simply left the smoking ruin of a once proud space empire in their dust. Fortunately, in the final days of the assault, the Minbari did not destroy every ship and installation they found with the sort of single-minded determination observed early in the war. Instead, they were content to pacify what resistance they found and press on towards Earth. This had the side effect of allowing the Alliance to quickly repair and recommission a large number of heavily damaged starships, mostly of the Olympus and Hyperion class. In addition, a new generation of Myrmidon light combat vessels was swiftly constructed and sent to defend the colonies. With these, Earth quickly restored their frontier borders and secured them against alien incursion. While the Kolani and Chlonus both sent forces into Earth space to test the defenses, they retreated quickly in the face of determined Earth task forces. These lone Earth groups made up of those grizzled survivors still capable of fighting, knew full well that they were all that stood between the remnants of the Alliance and an opportunistic alien invasion. They stood firm and towed the line yet again, and both races retreated after only a few skirmishes, believing that the Alliance survived the war in better shape than they actually had. In fact, Earth space would have been an easy target for any alien race with enough determination and ships to invade, but no one dared risk it. After all, Earth somehow managed to survive total war with the Minbari. In fact, it was the Minbari who had finally surrendered, a fact the Federation did not bother to hide. Why would the Minbari, an apparently unstoppable juggernaut, do this without good reason? What if the Minbari were now thralls of the Alliance through some unknown means? No one wanted to bring the wrath of the Federation down upon their heads next by provoking the Alliance. Of course, not everyone believed such a wild theory, but then, the Minbari surrender defied all other logic. The most likely explanation seemed to be that the Alliance withheld some sort of terrible doomsday weapon that they threatened, at the last, to visit upon both forces as an act of spite. Yet the Minbari said nothing about any such device, and while Earth diplomats were quick to seize upon it as a way to save face following what had been, for all intents and purposes, a disastrous defeat, they knew such an explanation would never stand up for long. They milked it for all it was worth, however, buying enough time to rebuild Earth force, recolonize their outposts, and return the Alliance to as much of its former state as was physically possible. In addition to the repairs on existing hulls and new construction in surviving shipyards, Earth Force was also forced to recognize the superiority of the Minbari Charlan war cruiser. No one in the Alliance had the slightest clue why the Minbari retreated when they did, and so there was no reason to expect they might not one day return to finish the job they started. Therefore, one of Earth's immediate goals was to develop some sort of craft capable of standing up to a Charlan in direct combat. The Nova, while indeed powerful, was simply not equal to the task, for it lacked the speed and maneuverability to engage the superior Minbari war vessels, and the long-range weapons needed in a match with the Minbari cruiser. To this end, a crash construction program developed a hybrid hull referred to as the Omega Destroyer. The Omega employed the best aspects of the Nova heavy weapons emplacements and a well-armored superstructure, with a gravity-positive rotating section and an array of defense weapons second to none. Even this craft, however powerful and capable, was still only a stopgap measure, for it alone was still not the equal of a Charlan. Something better was needed. Indeed, an entirely new generation of Earth ship and fighter designs was required. As a result, a series of longer-ranged programs were initiated to produce these vessels, the first fruits of which are now beginning to appear in the form of advanced Thunderbolt-class fighters. As to what lies beyond, all anyone knows for sure are veiled rumors of a top-secret vessel codenamed Warlock. No other information is available about this black project at this time. In addition to rebuilding their military, the Earth Alliance began a more extensive exploration campaign to expand their knowledge of the Outer Rim and to make contact with new races on their terms. For this task, several more Explorer-class ships were built for the task. But these ships were commanded by captains who were better trained in diplomacy and level-headed thinking to avoid what is now called the Jankowski effect. Sometime after the end of the war, once it became apparent that the Minbari had no intention of resuming the conflict, the leaders of Earth decided that they could not allow themselves to be brought to the edge of destruction once again. Ignorance of galactic power and politics had led them to the brink of doom, and the lack of any central forum to plead their case gave them no opportunity to offer reparations or make their case for peace. The Dilger invasion, also, was allowed to progress as far as it did because the League of Non-Aligned Worlds lacked the wherewithal to warn the others or request aid against the threat. Something was needed, some focal point where diplomats could meet in neutral space, to provide an outlet for grievances and diplomatic discussions. Thus was the Babylon Project born. The Alliance chose a neutral site as close as possible to the conflux of Earth, Narn, Centauri, Minbari, and League territory. Here, they began construction on a massive starbase capable of supporting ambassadors from every known race and culture. At this site, representatives of all governments could meet in peace and resolve their differences. Earth's leadership wanted there to be no chance of any future misunderstandings, involving either themselves or anyone else, that could lead to a galactic war. Constructing the Babylon station proved more difficult than it first appeared on paper. Not everyone agreed that such a place should exist. At least one of the first 3 stations is known to have been directly destroyed by sabotage, while others were lost in suspicious accident. The 4th, and largest, simply vanished on the eve of activation, with no trace ever found. Thoroughly disheartened, Earth was about to abandon the project entirely when the funds needed to construct the 5th and final Babylon station arrived from a totally unexpected provider: the Minbari Federation. The Minbari, it seemed, had their reasons for wanting the station built. For certain considerations, they offered to pay for virtually the entire construction project, although they invited and later accepted further help from the Centauri, Narns, and League of Non-Aligned Worlds. Although Babylon 5 was not nearly the size of Babylon 4, it was still quite capable of performing its intended function. It came online in 2256, ushering in a new era in the realm of galactic affairs. No longer did the races bicker and argue behind closed doors, or operate in a political vacuum. Now they had a place to meet and share their experiences and differences. With the help of Babylon 5, the age of interstellar war seemed past. Yet, despite all that has been accomplished, the Earth Alliance remained in turmoil. The question of what to do with Mars was still not answered, and the growing rift between telepaths and mundanes remained a significant concern. The reason for the Minbari surrender had never been adequately determined. Worst of all, there seemed to be constant rumblings out on the rim and beyond, rumors of a strange new power rising to the fore, threatening to draw the Alliance once more into conflict.